Welcome to the Chinese American Planning Council Home Attendant Program. We are a not-for-profit licensed home care service agency, LICSA, and also a fiscal intermediary, FI, under contract with the New York City Human Resources Administration, HRA, and a managed care organization, MCO, or Managed Long-Term Care Plan, MLTC. Since 2004, the Chinese American Planning Council Home Attendant Program has successfully administered the Consumer-Directed Personal Assistance Program, or CDPAP, for thousands of consumers. CDPAP enables those who are medically disabled, elderly, and/or physically disabled get the care they need at home. The Chinese American Planning Council Home Attendant Program, or agency, serves as a fiscal intermediary for the consumer by managing the payroll and fringe benefits available to you, the personal assistant. We do not provide our certified aid to a consumer who is solely responsible for recruiting and/or hiring you as their personal assistant. This is a general guide that can be used to help you navigate the requirements of the program. Let's start with some short and simple definitions. The consumer is the person receiving the care. The personal assistant is you, the individual hired and supervised by the consumer or the designated representative. Your official title is personal assistant. A designated representative is someone who is designated to direct a consumer's care when the consumer is unable physically or mentally to direct his or her own care. Consumer eligibility. A consumer is eligible for this program if he or she 1. Is eligible for Medicaid. 2. Is willing and able to self-direct the home care services. 3. Is willing and able to take responsibility of his or her choices. Designated representative. 1. If the consumer is unable to direct his or her own care, a designated representative must be appointed. A designated representative acts on behalf of the consumer and directs the consumer's care. It is recommended that the designated representative be a parent, legal guardian, or another responsible adult. 2. To avoid a conflict of interest, a designated representative may not be a personal assistant. 3. A designated representative must reside with the consumer or maintain a significant daily presence. A consumer's role. 1. The consumer is responsible for recruiting, interviewing, hiring, training, supervising, scheduling, and if necessary, disciplining and/or terminating a personal assistant to suit his or her needs and lifestyle. 2. The consumer may choose to hire whomever he or she chooses except his or her spouse or parents. For example, a consumer may hire his or her family members or close relatives such as siblings, cousins, uncles, aunts, grandparents, grandchildren, neighbors, or friends. The consumer, who is 21 years old or older, may hire his or her own parents. 3. A consumer and the personal assistant may also reside in the same residence. 4. In essence, the working relationship between a consumer and a personal assistant is that of an employer-employee under contract, in which the terms and conditions of the employment are set up and agreed upon by both the consumer and the personal assistant. The consumer responsibility. The consumer receiving care is the boss, and he or she also has important responsibilities to fulfill, including, but not limited to, 1. To prevent a lapse in service, a consumer should arrange a backup personal assistant to cover for one's vacation, holidays, illness, emergency, or whenever you are not available for any reason. 2. For those consumers looking for a backup or temporary replacement personal assistant, our online recruitment center offers an option to search for personal assistants looking for work. 3. The consumer must inform the CASA case manager, MCO, MLTC plans of any change in status, including address and telephone number changes, and hospitalizations he or she may have had. 4. The consumer must process the required paperwork, including timesheets and employment documents. 5. The consumer must ensure that each personal assistant works the hours approved by HRA or MCO/MLTC. 6. The consumer must accept full responsibility for any personal injury or loss of property, if any, that may result from the action of the personal assistant. 7. Liability waiver document. The consumer must enter into a written agreement with the agency that acknowledges these responsibilities. Consumer timekeeping. 1. All timekeeping is done electronically via the Electronic Visit Verification System, EVV, which lets the personal assistant clock in and clock out using a consumer's designated home or mobile phone. The call is toll-free. 2. All calls are allocated for proper and timely processing of your work hours. 3. A consumer should encourage the personal assistant to clock in and clock out because doing so is the most effective way to ensure the timely payment of wages and accurate calculation of accrued sick leave and vacation hours. The use of a manual timesheet is a last resort for those consumers with absolutely no means of obtaining access to a telephone. A consumer or his or her designated representative is in charge of verifying the manual timesheet to ensure accuracy in coverage and work hours. A consumer or designated representative's signature and date are required on the timesheet, in addition to a personal assistant's signature. A blank timesheet can be downloaded from our website. Our agency verifies all timesheets submitted. As a personal assistant, you must recognize the consumer or designated representative as your supervisor or boss and complete all designated tasks in a timely manner. As a personal assistant, you must 1. Be 18 years of age or over. 2. Be interviewed and hired by a consumer or his or her designated representative. 3. Have legal working status in the USA and possess a valid Social Security card. 4. Be in good physical health. 5. A personal assistant does not need to be certified and/or trained by a Department of Health approved training program. Working in the Consumer-Directed Personal Assistance Program, you earn a competitive pay and enjoy excellent fringe benefits. Your wage and benefits are described at the website shown on your screen and also in your handbook. As a personal assistant, you must respect the consumer's health, well-being, privacy, and property. These services you provide are based on the individual consumer's needs. Again, the working relationship between you and the consumer embodies an employment contract in which the consumer is the employer and you are the employee. Such a contract can be dissolved at any time by either you or the consumer. You must inform our agency of all payroll-related information such as 1. Change of address. 2. Telephone number. 3. Leave requests. 4. Absences. 5. Consumer's hospital admission and discharge. 6. An employment termination. As we mentioned before, to ensure accurate and timely processing of work hours, you must clock in and clock out using a consumer's home or mobile phone. Clocking in or out is very simple, and anyone can learn to do it. It is also the most effective way to get paid on time, as the work hours are processed by our state-of-the-art computing system, but you may not ask anyone else to clock you in or out. The use of a manual timesheet is available, but only if it is absolutely necessary. 1. Having the most updated address on our agency's database ensures that paychecks, pay stubs, W-2, and notice of annual medical exam are delivered in time to your address. 2. You will be paid every 2 weeks. Paychecks will be mailed to you or direct deposited into your designated bank account. If you do not receive your payroll checks on time, a replacement check can only be issued after the agency receives written confirmation of the stop payment request from the issuing bank. You are responsible for the stop payment fee. If you do not wish to pay for the stop payment fee, a replacement check will be issued after a waiting period of 45 days, provided that the check is not yet deposited or cashed. To request vacation or sick leave hours, the consumer may enter the number of hours to be paid on the timesheet. You may be authorized by the consumer to receive vacation hours at any time, even when you are scheduled to work. Sick leave hours may be authorized by the consumer only when you take time off from your regular schedule. Physical exam. 1. You must also satisfactorily complete an initial pre-employment medical exam and then annual medical exams at no cost to you. These are to be scheduled within 11 months following your last medical exam. Upon receiving a notice in the mail, you must call Mobile Health at 212-695-5122 or go to the website below to make an appointment and show up on the date and time allotted. It is your responsibility to submit any missing medical-related documents to our agency. 2. If you choose to go to your own doctor for the pre-employment exam or annual exam, it is important that you ensure that the drug screen is done with a chain of custody maintained method. Otherwise, the drug screen will not be good. 3. To ensure the required medical report is received by the agency, you should notify the agency about the date of completion. 4. For consumers' health and safety, the agency may urge the consumer to suspend the personal assistant's employment until the required medical clearance is obtained. 5. All new personal assistants must obtain a medical clearance from our agency before starting a job assignment. Upon being informed by our agency that you are medically cleared to start work, you may then do so. Important: you may not work for a consumer while the consumer is admitted to a hospital and/or nursing home. This is because the CDPAP service is supposed to be rendered at home. Once the consumer is admitted to a hospital or nursing home, Medicaid stops paying for the CDPAP service, and our agency cannot bill Medicaid even if the personal assistant has already worked. Therefore, we cannot pay a personal assistant who, against our agency's advice, cares for a consumer at a hospital, nursing home, or skilled nursing facility. Our agency's role. Our agency's role in the CDPAP service is that of a fiscal intermediary, FI, in which we are responsible for paying you once every 2 weeks, keeping payroll records, deducting the required income tax and FICA, Social Security, and forwarding such to the local, state, and federal taxation government entities. In short, our agency helps the consumers manage their care by acting as a paymaster. We do not get involved in the hiring decision made by a consumer, nor do we offer our opinion on the suitability of a candidate for the position. Remember, a consumer or designated representative is responsible for supervising, scheduling, making replacements, and/or training a personal assistant. Again, we do not provide our certified aid to a consumer. When funding allows, our agency funds and administers an excellent fringe benefit package. Please see more information available to personal assistants on the website below. As a paymaster and fiscal intermediary, we verify all electronic and manual timekeeping. If there is a discrepancy in the time submitted, we reserve the right to conduct a thorough investigation before paying you. We are also required by the law to investigate allegations of fraud. We take allegations of fraud seriously, and we will take steps to prevent such occurrence. Our state-of-the-art computer system, linked with other home care agencies, generates a conflict of hours report if a personal assistant works for 2 consumers from 2 individual homes on the same day and during the same time frame. If a personal assistant is found to have intentionally committed an act of fraud, we are mandated to report to the Office of Medicaid Inspector General. Our agency also monitors the results of a personal assistant's pre-employment and annual medical exam and reports to the consumer of any abnormal findings, which could hinder the ability of the personal assistant to successfully carry out his or her job duties. We reserve the right to report any abnormal medical findings to the HRA or MCO/MLTC. The decision to retain or let go of a personal assistant rests entirely on the consumer or his or her designated representative. The agency conducts a consumer satisfaction survey every 6 months by mailing a survey to the consumers or designated representatives in regards to their satisfaction with the services provided. It will be greatly appreciated that the consumer or designated representative mails back this completed survey at his or her earliest convenience. Consumer satisfaction is limited to the performance of the administrative tasks, which are the responsibility of the agency. The agency is not responsible for the performance or conduct of a personal assistant. Quick tips. For all inquiry related to payroll, scheduling, registration, medical exam status, or compliance, please call us only during office hours, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Please do not leave a voicemail in the emergency voicemail system during off hours. Please contact the agency of any schedule change or disruption in services, for example, consumers, hospitalization, vacation, etc. Remember, call during business hours. Starting on January 1st, 2020, a federal and New York state law, the 21st Century Cures Act, mandate all personal assistants working in the CDPAP program to call in and call out from a consumer's designated phone. This means that only in rare occasions will the use of manual timesheets be permitted. In short, no clock in or no clock out means no pay until the work performed is verified. Steps on how to clock in or clock out. Call from a consumer's designated telephone. Dial 1-800-214-5781 or 1-800-554-4630. When prompted, enter your 9-digit Social Security number. Press pound to continue, and then hang up. Again, the use of manual timesheets is only for an emergency. No timesheet received equals no pay until timesheet is received and processed. Submit timesheets via fax to 212-966-7371 or email to ts@cpchap.org. Timesheets must be submitted as early as possible to prevent a delay. Our agency is required to conduct weekly random calls to a consumer's place to ensure that a personal assistant is present during his or her scheduled time. Please do your best to cooperate with our staff to ensure compliance with New York State and federal law. Payroll takes place every 2 weeks, and the payroll period covers the hours worked up to the previous Friday or whichever day worked last, usually for 2 weeks prior. Our work week starts on a Saturday and ends on a Friday. In order to ensure timely receipt of your pay, it is strongly recommended that you sign up for direct deposit, which directly transmit your wages to your bank account. Direct deposit takes about 2 payrolls to take effect. In the meantime, you will receive a paper check. Paper checks are delivered by the United States Postal Service. We have no control over the delivery time. Medical exam. You must pass a pre-employment medical exam before starting a job. Upon being informed by our agency that you are medically cleared to start work, you may then do so. It is your responsibility to complete your annual medical exam before the expiration date in order to maintain good standing and continue working. An annual medical exam expires in 11 months. To be eligible for health insurance, you must have worked for 3 consecutive months and 80 or more hours each month. Since we are a fiscal intermediary, we do not conduct any type of nursing visits. And lastly, you must not work for another consumer with another agency on the same date and time. Doing so is considered Medicaid fraud or double dipping. Also, you may not ask anyone else to clock you in or out.